We have Temple. I'm sorry, going from Penn State, Michigan we have Temple on the road at USF. South Florida is a 7-point home favorite in this game, carries a lovely over-under of 68.5 points. Kicks off at noon Eastern on ESPN+. We're going from high level to low level, but like I said, I like to highlight different teams, different games, different conferences, and also try to find edges in games that may not have a lot of eyes on it or the full grasp. This series has been a lot of fun lately. Lots of scoring. 72 combined points, over 1,000 yards of total offense last year. We had talked about it on our weeknight episode, and I teased we talked about how valuable quarterbacks can be to a point spread in college, because in college, offenses are system-based unless you have one of the elite quarterbacks, whereas the NFL is player-based. This is one of the games in which I think a quarterback is truly, truly worth something serious to the point spread. E.J. Warner returned last week. He threw for another 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Temple was an outright winner. Really enjoyed that one. It was part of a nice round robin that'll buy me a nice steak dinner. But they turned the ball over 4 times, and they still won by 14 points. Like, this could have been an absolute decimation of Navy. That said, I don't know that the weight of E.J. Warner is appropriately priced into the market. I don't think it is, to be honest. Seeing the opening numbers and seeing that Temple's been a darling on the in the market, at least not at open. The opening marks, I think, are not counting him enough. In my opinion, he's one of the most valuable players in the entire country, and that includes Jaden Daniels. That includes the highest level quarterbacks in the entire country, Michael Penix. I think Warner's worth more to the point spread than either of those guys because of the relative talent level around him versus what you have at Washington. The safety net behind Warner is 0. The quarterback that steps in for him for Temple's atrocious. Now, let's talk about USF. Their defensive metrics, in my opinion, they're a bit skewed. This unit is, bottom line, terrible. They've allowed 55 or more points in 3 of their last 4 games. Big time regression from the start of the year where they held, quote unquote, held Alabama to 17 points. I'm not so certain that wasn't just Alabama holding themselves to that. But either way, they're bottom 15 in points per quality possession allowed. Both of these teams, to be honest, they're really bad. The bottom line, they're near the bottom of the country in turnover margin. USF is 124th. They actually have a positive turnover margin in the last 3 games. They've been getting it together a little bit in that front. Temple, on the other hand, they're the absolute worst. They have a -8 turnover margin in their last 3 outings. There really won't be defense played on either side of the football in this one, and both offenses run top 20 paces. Now, the total for me comes down to whether or not these teams, whether or not we believe these teams are going to finish drives all the time. USF, 84th in points per quality possession. Shout out Parker Frumling, Stats of War on Twitter. Have to give credit where credit is due. He puts out amazing advanced stats, breakdowns of these games, and that's where I'm getting the points per quality possession from. USF is 84th in that department. Temple 75th. When you're betting over a total like 68, and I saw 67 earlier on the board, it's been moved up, that leaves you with no room for error, even with fast-paced and turnover-prone teams against bad defenses. You have to score on almost every single possession. And based on the metrics, the points per quality possession, these teams don't do that regularly, even though they are lighting up the scoreboard from time to time. These 2 teams are 2nd and 3rd worst in red zone scoring rate as well. It's not going to be a fun one to sweat out, but I think I'm going to take under 68. I hate saying that, but I'm going to fade against, with 2 or 3 turnovers and a couple of drives in which they stall out, potentially even in the red zone, for an under 68.
Brett, we went from the number 1 game of the day and the number 2 game of the regular season to a true sickle alert here. Yeah, man, we got a watchability score of 2.7. Hey, I understand why we're talking about it. It's just a little different than the 9.9 we had. USF -11. That's what the model says. It's a 79% win expectancy. Brett, this was interesting to me as I was prepping for this game in particular. 4 of the bottom 5 FBS defenses, by my numbers, reside in the American. These teams are 2 of them. Temple's defensive unit is number 129. USF's is number 131. They're both really bad on this side of the ball. There's really not a nicer way to say it. That's the reality. Temple isn't much better on the offensive side of the ball either. They rank number 111. Overall, the Owls are the 3rd worst team in FBS by my numbers, the worst power-rated team that USF will face all season. The only unit in this game that's really played at a truly respectable level, I would say, relative to FBS average, is the USF offense. They are currently at a season best number 75. That unit, plus the fact that this game is in Tampa, is what makes the difference for me in this one. Bottom line, I've got USF minus 11 to 21% chance that Temple pulls off the upset here on the road.
And this is why I want to talk about this one, because I think Temple is not only alive again in the spread, I think they're alive to win the game outright again. And that because I really, truly believe Warner's worth at least a touchdown to the spread. And the numbers that come out in the models are taking into account full season. They do. I'm sure yours, we won't give out the Krabby Patty formula, but I'm sure yours weight certain things differently to make sure that they are accounting for more recent results rather than, well, in week 0, they did whatever. I just think this team is completely different with EJ Warner, and I'm going to take advantage of that until I see what I estimate is an appropriate priced team. They weren't appropriately priced last week. We saw that. I don't think they're appropriately priced again this week with a misleading box score. So, Temple, honestly, take them outright. That's the way I'm going to go. If you're not, if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to bet under in this game, which I don't know that I love it. I bet it, but I don't know if I love it. I would take probably Temple at anything at +7 or better.